Have you ever felt like you're giving everything to someone, only to watch them walk away without a second glance? You keep bending, breaking, and sacrificing your own happiness, yet they remain indifferent. You wonder, why am I doing this? Why am I constantly chasing someone who doesn't value me? The truth is, you may be stuck in a cycle, a dangerous and toxic pattern that has become your reality. But what if I told you that there is a simple trick you can try that will completely change the way you approach relationships? What if I told you this trick would show you how much power you truly have, and how the second you stop chasing someone, everything shifts in your favor? The solution isn't about begging or pleading for love. It's about taking back control, reclaiming your worth, and walking away from the very things that are draining you. This isn't just another motivational speech. This is your wake-up call to stop chasing validation and start living with purpose. If you're tired of sacrificing yourself for someone who can't even see your value, then stick around. The secret I'm about to share will change everything. 1. Recognize the red flags. When someone doesn't value you anymore, it can feel like you've been walking in circles, trying to make sense of the situation. You may find yourself constantly questioning, why aren't they giving me the same energy I'm putting in? The truth is, the signs of being undervalued are often clear, but many of us ignore them because we don't want to face the reality of the situation. Have you ever noticed that you're always the one reaching out first? Always the one making the effort, always the one adjusting to their needs while yours are left unmet? These are the subtle red flags that should not be ignored. Sometimes the warning signs are loud and impossible to miss. Cancelled plans, unanswered texts, or words that cut deeper than you care to admit. But more often than not, the red flags are quiet, creeping into your awareness until they have become too loud to ignore. You start to wonder why you're putting so much into a relationship that doesn't seem to reciprocate. Is this really love, or are you just trapped in a cycle of your own desperation? The issue is that for many of us, we confuse effort with love. We believe that if we keep trying, if we keep pushing, the other person will eventually see how much we care and will meet us halfway. But the truth is, love doesn't need to be constantly proven. Real love is not about one person constantly trying to make the other feel appreciated. It's about mutual respect and effort, two people equally investing in the relationship. So how can you recognize when the effort you're putting in is no longer being valued? It starts with noticing how often you feel drained after interactions, how often you're the one sacrificing your time and energy for someone who rarely gives back. If you find that you're always the one reaching out, always the one who initiates everything, it's a sign that something is out of balance. The imbalance can often manifest as emotional exhaustion, where you feel like you're constantly running on empty, yet the other person seems unbothered, indifferent to the effort you're putting in. In Stoic philosophy, the idea of accepting reality as it is rather than what we wish it to be is crucial. And so, while it may be painful to admit that someone no longer values you, it is far more harmful to continue ignoring the signs and hoping for change. In relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, we must learn to recognize when our time, energy, and affection are not being valued. It's about understanding that your worth is not defined by how much you give, but by how much you respect yourself. So what happens when you recognize these red flags? The first step is letting go of any false hope that things will change if you just try a little harder. It's not about begging for their attention, but about acknowledging that they've shown you who they truly are through their actions, and their actions are telling you that they are no longer invested. The next step is to stop making excuses for their behavior. How many times have you tried to rationalize their actions? How many times have you convinced yourself that they're just busy, or maybe they're going through something and need time? While it's true that people go through hard times, it's also true that mutual respect should never be conditional. If someone truly values you, they will find ways to show it, even when life gets tough. So when they stop putting in effort, it's time to stop pretending like things will magically improve. The Stoics would advise you to see things as they truly are, not through the lens of what you wish or hope they could be. The reality is that the other person is not meeting your needs, and you are not obligated to continue giving to them without receiving anything in return. Now, this doesn't mean you should jump to conclusions or make hasty decisions. Recognizing the red flags doesn't always require a dramatic response. Sometimes it simply means accepting that the situation isn't healthy and giving yourself permission to move on. But the first step is to recognize the signs, to stop making excuses for behavior that is clearly disrespectful or indifferent. Another important factor in recognizing these red flags is understanding that your time and energy are precious. How often do you find yourself giving more than you're receiving? How often have you prioritized someone else's needs over your own, only to feel overlooked or unappreciated? In Stoic thought, we are taught that our most valuable resource is our time, and that it should be spent wisely. If someone isn't valuing your time, then you are wasting it by continuing to invest in them. The value of your time can't be overstated. When you keep pouring into someone who isn't reciprocating, you are ultimately draining your own vitality. Recognizing the red flags is not just about seeing the negative behavior of others, but also about acknowledging that you deserve better. You deserve to be surrounded by people who treat you with respect, who appreciate your efforts, and who offer you the same kindness and attention you give them. So what can you do when you finally see the signs? First, take a moment to reflect on your own worth. Your value does not decrease based on someone else's inability to see it. Stoicism teaches us that our worth is inherent and should never be tied to the approval or recognition of others. When you stop seeking validation from external sources, you start to find peace within yourself. The reality of the situation may be difficult to accept, but it is also liberating. Once you see the red flags for what they truly are, you no longer need to invest in a relationship that drains you. The truth is that your energy, your time, and your love are gifts. And just as you wouldn't give away precious gifts to someone who doesn't appreciate them, you shouldn't continue to invest in people who don't value you. Recognizing these red flags is the first step in taking back control of your life. It's a sign that you are ready to stop settling for less than you deserve. You are ready to stop making excuses, to stop chasing after someone who won't even glance your way. The next step is about taking action that comes from a place of self-respect and understanding that you deserve more. 2. The power of absence. The concept of absence may seem counterintuitive when we're talking about relationships. How can stepping back, creating space, and pulling away be the solution when we've been taught that love requires effort, constant communication, and closeness? But here's the powerful truth. Sometimes the most impactful thing you can do when someone doesn't value you anymore is to stop being there. It's not about playing games. It's about regaining control of your own life and creating a shift in the dynamics of your relationship. The Stoics often talk about how we cannot control the actions of others, but we do have the ability to control our own responses. So when you pull back and stop constantly showing up, you are not only taking control of your own peace, but you are also sending a clear message to the other person about your worth. Have you ever noticed how people often take what is most readily available for granted? Think about how many times you've bent over backward for someone, always being there, always answering, always making the effort, and yet somehow it seems like they are never fully invested in your time and energy. This is the reality of relationships where the balance is off. When you're constantly available, you make it easier for them to dismiss your worth. They don't have to put in the same effort because they know you will always be there to fill the gaps. The moment you create absence, when you stop constantly reaching out, when you stop always being available. You create a space where they are forced to recognize your value. Absence is not a sign of weakness or giving up. It's a strategy of strength. It's about regaining your power and reminding the other person of what they are missing out on. Think about this. When you step back, you stop feeding their ego and you stop being a source of validation for them. By doing so, you show them that you won't be a part of a relationship where your needs are not being met, where your time and energy are not being reciprocated. If they truly valued you, they would notice your absence, and in that absence, they would begin to realize how much they took you for granted. Imagine a lighthouse standing tall in the distance, guiding ships safely toward the shore. Does the lighthouse chase after the ships? No, it stays firmly planted, shining its light in the same place, waiting for the right ships to find it. The lighthouse doesn't need to chase, because it knows its value. It simply stands firm, and the ships, when they are ready, will come. You must become that lighthouse. When you stop chasing, when you stop making yourself available at every moment, you become the steady presence that others must respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. You might be wondering, but won't they forget about me if I pull away? Won't they just move on and find someone else who will be there for them? Here's the thing, if they truly value you, they won't forget. Absence is loud. It sends a message. The reality is, when you step back, you allow the other person to miss you. You create a void, and they are left to confront what they had and possibly lost. It's like a person who has become accustomed to having a beautiful garden, but never took the time to tend to it. Eventually, the plants begin to wither, and the beauty fades. But when the gardener decides to step back, to stop watering, to stop giving so freely, the plants are left to fend for themselves, and only then does the gardener realize how much they took the beauty of the garden for granted. That's what happens when you create space. People begin to realize your worth when you are no longer constantly available. But let's take this even deeper. Stepping back isn't just about creating space for the other person to miss you, it's also about giving yourself the opportunity to reset. When you've been caught in a toxic cycle, constantly overgiving, constantly trying to prove your worth, it can drain your energy, your self-esteem, and your sense of purpose. Stepping back allows you the chance to focus on yourself, to reconnect with your own sense of self-worth and confidence. It's in that space that you find clarity. You begin to see that your value does not depend on someone else's recognition of it. And the longer you spend away from a relationship that drains you, the more you realize how much strength you have within yourself. Creating space for yourself also gives you the chance to invest in other areas of your life, your passions, your growth, your health. By pulling back, you stop being a source of emotional labor for someone else and start channeling that energy into your own personal development. The more you invest in yourself, the less you feel the need to chase anyone for validation. This is where true empowerment lies. The Stoics remind us that our happiness comes from within, not from the approval of others. When you stop seeking validation from someone who doesn't appreciate you, you begin to unlock a new level of freedom. You no longer feel beholden to anyone's opinion of you because you've found your worth in yourself, not in their recognition. So how do you implement this in your life? It doesn't mean you need to cut someone off entirely or become cold and distant. Instead, it's about giving yourself the space you need to remember your own value. Don't be the one always texting first, always reaching out, always trying to hold the relationship together. Step back and let them reach out to you. Let them be the ones to initiate contact. Let them feel the void of your absence and see if they step up. If they do, great. It means they're starting to see what they've taken for granted. If they don't, then you've gained something even more valuable: clarity. You've realized that someone who doesn't value your presence is not someone you should be investing in, and that's a realization that will set you free. This is a fundamental shift in how we approach relationships, especially in the modern age where we are constantly encouraged to chase after the things that seem to slip away. But the Stoics taught us that peace comes from within. It comes from being content with who we are and being willing to let go of the things that no longer serve us. When you stop chasing validation, you stop seeking approval, and you start living with the peace that comes from knowing your own worth. It's a hard truth, but it's one that will ultimately set you free. If someone truly valued you, they would make the effort to show it. If they don't, it's time to stop chasing them. Step back and let them see your worth through your absence. Let them feel the void, and when they do, you'll realize that your worth was never dependent on them in the first place. If you've been finding yourself in a similar situation, and if you're ready to take control of your own life, stop chasing after someone who doesn't value you. Step back, reclaim your power, and watch as things begin to shift in your favor. Your absence will be the loudest statement you've ever made. Like and comment number 1 if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about how to take control of your life and relationships. Don't forget to subscribe for more empowering content. 3. Stop chasing, start living. For far too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that chasing someone for love and attention is a sign of devotion. We've been told that if you truly care about someone, you should fight for their affection, that you should keep showing up, no matter how many times they ignore you, dismiss you, or undervalue you. But here's the painful truth. The more you chase someone who doesn't value you, the further you push them away. It's as if you are running on a treadmill, expending all your energy and effort, but getting nowhere. Why does this happen? Because the act of chasing comes from a place of neediness and desperation. It sends the message that you are willing to sacrifice your own happiness, your time, and your self-worth just to gain the approval of someone who clearly doesn't see your value. And when you do this, you lose the most important thing of all, your sense of self-respect. The problem with chasing is that you put all your energy into someone else's validation while neglecting your own needs, desires, and self-worth. It's time to break this cycle and start living for yourself instead. If you think about the nature of relationships and the dynamics that make them thrive, it becomes clear that the healthiest, most fulfilling connections are based on mutual respect, not one-sided effort. The moment you stop chasing someone who doesn't value you, you reclaim your power and dignity. Think about it. What does it say about the relationship when you are the one doing all the work? What does it say about your sense of self when you keep giving and giving to someone who doesn't appreciate you in return? Real love and real respect come from a place of equality, where both parties invest equally, emotionally and physically. But when you're the one chasing, you're the one who is doing all the work. You are essentially training the other person to take you for granted because you are always there, ready to provide whatever they need, even if it comes at the expense of your own happiness. At the heart of this issue is the fundamental misunderstanding of self-worth. Your value is not determined by how much you can give to others. Your worth is intrinsic. It comes from within, and it doesn't depend on someone else's recognition or approval. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You stop sacrificing your happiness for the sake of someone else's indifference, and you start living for yourself. But how do you begin to break free from this habit of chasing? It starts with understanding that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, especially not to someone who isn't giving you the love and attention you deserve. When you stop chasing, you stop reducing your value to how much you can give to others. Instead, you raise your standards, your boundaries, and your expectations, and you stop tolerating behavior that doesn't align with your worth. This is the shift from chasing to living, and it's a transformation that will change the way you Approach not only relationships, but also your life in general. Think about it. What do you really want? Do you want a relationship where you're constantly chasing someone who doesn't care? Or do you want a life where you are the center of your own world, surrounded by people who value you for who you are, not for what you can give them? This shift isn't just about romantic relationships. It applies to every aspect of your life. It's about reclaiming your power, your energy, and your time, and deciding that you are worthy of the love, respect, and attention that you've been so freely giving away to others. The reality is, when you stop chasing, the energy dynamic changes completely. You stop being the one who is always available, and you start becoming the person who people want to pursue. It's not about playing games or manipulating others. It's about embodying the self-respect and confidence that naturally comes when you stop seeking external validation. People are attracted to strength, to independence, to someone who is comfortable in their own skin and doesn't need anyone else to complete them. When you stop chasing, you stop devaluing yourself, and you begin to attract the people who truly see your worth. It's not about trying harder, it's about realizing that you don't have to try at all. You just have to be yourself. And when you show up as your authentic self, people will recognize your worth. The more you stop chasing, the more people will chase you. This is the magic of shifting your mindset and behavior. The power of self-worth comes from the understanding that you are already enough. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to chase, beg, or sacrifice yourself. When you stop chasing, you start living for yourself. You reclaim your energy, your time, and your life. You stop wasting it on people who don't appreciate you, and you begin to invest it in things that actually matter. Your goals, your growth, your happiness. The moment you realize that you are worthy of a love that is reciprocated, you stop chasing after people who don't value you, and you start living the life you deserve. When you start living for yourself, everything changes. The relationships that are meant to be will fall into place effortlessly. You'll attract the right people into your life, the ones who appreciate you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them. So ask yourself this: why keep chasing after someone who doesn't appreciate you when you can start living for yourself and attract the love and respect you truly deserve? When you stop chasing, you stop being trapped in a cycle of neediness and desperation, and you start living a life of self-respect and empowerment. The power to transform your life is already within you. It's time to stop chasing and start living. 4. Reclaim your energy. How often do you find yourself emotionally drained after spending time with someone who doesn't value you? How often have you sacrificed your time, your energy, and your soul, hoping that one day they would appreciate you, only to feel completely empty in return? It's a painful cycle, and the truth is, it's one that many of us continue to repeat without realizing that we have the power to break free. The key to breaking this cycle is to reclaim your energy. It's about learning to put yourself first, to stop giving away pieces of yourself to someone who isn't willing to give anything back. But how do you do this? It starts with recognizing that your energy is precious and should not be given away freely to anyone who doesn't appreciate it. Have you ever noticed how giving too much of yourself to someone can make you feel exhausted, depleted, and even resentful? When you are constantly pouring your energy into someone else, there's nothing left for you. You become like an empty vessel, trying to fill others without filling yourself. But when you stop giving your energy to someone who doesn't value it, you begin to regain control of your life. You start to refocus that energy on the things that matter to you: your growth, your happiness, your passions. You start to realize that you don't need someone else's approval to feel complete. You already have everything you need within you. The Stoics teach us that we are the masters of our own lives, that we control our own responses, and that we have the power to decide where to direct our energy. This is exactly what reclaiming your energy is all about. It's about deciding that your time, your effort, and your emotional resources are worth more than being wasted on someone who doesn't value them. Think about it. How many times have you given everything to someone who didn't even acknowledge your efforts? How many times have you ignored your own needs, desires, and happiness just to make someone else happy? It's time to stop. Reclaiming your energy means putting yourself first, realizing that you deserve to be valued, appreciated, and respected. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to how much you give to others, but to how much you value yourself. When you stop pouring all your energy into someone who takes it for granted, you create space for yourself. This space allows you to grow, to focus on your own goals, and to live your life with purpose. When you refocus your energy on yourself, you begin to heal from the emotional exhaustion that comes with constantly chasing someone else's approval. You stop being drained by people who don't care, and you start investing in things that fulfill you. You reclaim your sense of self, your confidence, and your power. It's a transformative process, but it all begins with this simple truth. You are worthy of the energy you give, and when you begin to prioritize your own needs and happiness, you will start to attract people who value you the way you deserve. This doesn't mean you have to be selfish or shut yourself off from others. It simply means that you stop giving everything away without receiving anything in return. It means you start recognizing the importance of boundaries, of taking care of yourself before you try to take care of anyone else. The moment you begin reclaiming your energy is the moment you stop allowing others to dictate how you feel, how much you give, and what you deserve. It's about taking your power back, and once you do, you'll realize that you don't need to chase after anyone. People who genuinely care about you will recognize your worth without you having to prove it. Reclaiming your energy is a powerful act of self-love and self-respect. It's a commitment to yourself that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. And when you start to live this way, with your energy directed toward your own growth and happiness, you'll start to see the world in a completely new light. The relationships that are meant to be will naturally fall into place, and those that aren't will fade away. It's not about being selfish, it's about understanding that you can't give from an empty cup. When you fill your own cup, you not only elevate yourself, but you also become more magnetic to the right people. So, start today. Reclaim your energy. Stop giving it away to people who don't value you. Invest it in yourself, in your goals, and in your happiness. You are worthy of all the energy you've been giving to others, and the more you recognize this, the more you will see the positive changes in your life. Like and comment number 1 if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about reclaiming your energy and taking control of your life. Don't forget to subscribe for more empowering content. 5. Set healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries is one of the most important, yet often overlooked steps in creating healthy relationships. We often believe that boundaries are about saying no to others, and while that is certainly part of it, they are more about saying yes to yourself. Boundaries are an essential part of self-respect and self-care. Without them, we become susceptible to manipulation, emotional exhaustion, and burnout. The truth is, when you fail to set boundaries, you are essentially teaching others how to treat you. By constantly saying yes to things that violate your personal limits, you reinforce the idea that you are willing to sacrifice your own needs for others' comfort or approval. But this only leads to resentment, frustration, and ultimately losing yourself in the process. Setting boundaries is not an act of aggression, it's an act of self-preservation. It's about teaching others how to treat you by establishing clear guidelines for what is and isn't acceptable in your life. In relationships, boundaries are a form of respect, not just for yourself, but for the other person as well. Healthy boundaries create space for mutual respect, understanding, and clear communication. When you clearly communicate your needs and expectations, you are not only protecting your own well-being, but also fostering a healthier, more balanced relationship. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you actually wanted to say no? How many times have you tolerated bad behavior just to avoid conflict or to keep the peace? This is where boundaries come in. They allow you to honor your own needs, to say no when something doesn't feel right, and to protect your time and energy from being drained by others. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to standing up for yourself. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And the more you set boundaries, the more respect you will command from others. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries and will appreciate your honesty and clarity. On the other hand, people who are only interested in using you or taking advantage of your kindness will begin to distance themselves. And that's okay, because you don't need to hold on to relationships that don't serve you or that drain your energy. Healthy boundaries help you preserve your peace, maintain your self-respect, and protect your emotional well-being. They help you identify what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not. And they give you the power to make decisions based on your own values, not based on fear, guilt, or the desire to please others. Think of your boundaries as guardrails, protecting your mental and emotional health. Just as a guardrail prevents a car from veering off the road and falling into danger, your boundaries prevent you from falling into situations that compromise your well-being. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to shut yourself off from others or become cold and distant. It simply means you are clear about what you need and what you won't tolerate. It means protecting your energy and your time so that you can focus on the things that truly matter. And it means having the courage to stand firm in your values, even when others push back or try to cross those boundaries. In Stoic philosophy, we are taught to focus on what we can control and to let go of what we cannot. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to take control of your life. By defining what you are willing to accept, you stop allowing others to dictate how you feel or how much of yourself you give away. You protect your peace by honoring your own needs, and in doing so, you build stronger, more authentic relationships. Setting boundaries is also an act of self-love. It is a way of saying, I am worthy of respect, and I will no longer tolerate behavior that undermines my well-being. When you set boundaries, you are affirming your own worth and acknowledging that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. It's time to stop apologizing for having standards. It's time to stop feeling guilty for saying no or for choosing yourself over others. The more you practice setting boundaries, the more you will come to realize that it is not only okay to protect yourself, it is necessary for your happiness and well-being. And remember, setting boundaries is not about controlling others. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and well-being. You are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries, but you are responsible for enforcing them. It's time to stop being afraid of what others might think or how they might react when you set limits. If they truly care about you, they will respect your boundaries. If they don't, it's a clear sign that the relationship is not healthy. And it's time to move on. The power of setting boundaries is transformative. It gives you the confidence to live your life according to your own values, not according to someone else's expectations. It empowers you to take control of your time, your energy, and your peace. It helps you protect your mental and emotional health so that you can show up as the best version of yourself in every area of your life. So take a moment and reflect on the boundaries you need to set in your life. Where are you allowing others to take advantage of your time, energy, and emotions? What behaviors are you tolerating that no longer serve you? It's time to set those boundaries and start living a life that honors your own needs and values. When you do, you'll find that your relationships become healthier, Your energy becomes more aligned with your true self, and your peace becomes unshakable. 6. Embrace your worth. Embracing your worth is perhaps the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. It's about understanding that your value is not determined by someone else's opinion, their approval, or their love. Your worth is intrinsic. It comes from within, and it has nothing to do with how much you can give to others or how much others appreciate you. When you embrace your worth, you stop measuring yourself against the standards that others have set for you. You stop letting the opinions of others dictate how you feel about yourself. Instead, you begin to define your worth based on who you are and the values that you hold dear. This is a crucial shift because when you rely on others to validate your worth, you give them the power to control how you feel about yourself. When you stop seeking validation, you become free. Free to be who you are, free to pursue your dreams, and free to live a life that is aligned with your values, not based on the approval of others. Too many of us spend years chasing after love, attention, and validation from people who don't see our worth. And in doing so, we lose sight of our own value. We sacrifice our happiness, our goals, and our identity just to fit into someone else's idea of who we should be. But when you embrace your worth, you stop playing that game. You realize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel whole. You are already enough, and your value doesn't depend on anyone's recognition. It depends on how you see yourself. Embracing your worth means setting standards for how you want to be treated, not just by others, but also by yourself. How often have you allowed others to treat you poorly just to avoid conflict or to gain their approval? How many times have you compromised your own values to keep the peace or to hold on to a relationship that wasn't serving you? Embracing your worth is about saying enough. It's about putting yourself first and realizing that you deserve respect, kindness, and love. When you truly understand your worth, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop allowing people to treat you as if you are less than what you are. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. When you embrace your worth, you take full responsibility for how others treat you. You no longer allow people to disrespect you because you've set clear boundaries, you've communicated your needs, and you've decided that your worth is non-negotiable. The most powerful part of embracing your worth is understanding that it's a constant practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but rather something that you must actively nurture every single day. It's about reinforcing the belief that you are worthy of everything you desire in life, and that you don't need to settle for less. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your worth, whether it's choosing to walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you, setting a boundary, or investing in your own growth, you are affirming your value. And the more you do this, the stronger your sense of self-worth becomes. The more you embrace your worth, the more you begin to attract the people and opportunities that align with who you truly are. You stop wasting time with people who drain your energy and start forming relationships that uplift you. You begin to make decisions that honor your true self, rather than trying to please others or gain their approval. But here's the catch. You cannot wait for others to recognize your worth. It starts with you. The longer you wait for someone to acknowledge your value, the longer you stay stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and dependence on external validation. The moment you decide to embrace your worth, you take the power back. You no longer need anyone's permission to feel good about yourself. You don't need to wait for someone else to give you the approval you seek, because you already have it within yourself. This is where true freedom lies. When you embrace your worth, you stop living for others and start living for yourself. You begin to create a life that is authentic to who you are, not one that is shaped by the expectations of others. And the more you live in alignment with your true self, the more fulfilled and content you become. One of the most transformative aspects of embracing your worth is realizing that your worth is not contingent on external factors. It's not about how much you give to others, how much love you receive, or how successful you are in your career. Your worth is inherent. It comes from who you are, not what you do. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are already enough. The more you internalize this truth, the more peace you will find within yourself. You will stop seeking validation from external sources and start relying on your own internal compass to guide you. The people who truly value you will see your worth, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you are no longer chasing their approval. They will be drawn to your confidence, your self-respect, and your ability to live authentically. Embracing your worth is also about recognizing your own strengths and talents. How often do we downplay our own abilities because we don't want to appear arrogant or boastful? How many times do we ignore our achievements because we feel like they're not worthy of celebration? Embracing your worth means owning your accomplishments, your uniqueness, and the qualities that make you who you are. It means celebrating your strengths and being unapologetic about them. When you begin to embrace your worth in every aspect of your life, you begin to walk with your head held high, knowing that you are deserving of all the good things that come your way. So how do you start embracing your worth? It begins with changing the way you think about yourself. Start by affirming your value every day. Tell yourself that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, just as you are. Let go of the need for external validation and start looking within. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. Make decisions that honor your boundaries and your needs. And most importantly, never settle for anything less than what you deserve. The more you embrace your worth, the more you will attract the life and relationships that reflect your true value. Like and comment number 1 if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about embracing your worth and reclaiming your power. Don't forget to subscribe for more empowering
content.
In the end, the journey toward embracing your worth, setting healthy boundaries, and reclaiming your energy is one of profound personal transformation. It is about waking up to the truth of who you are and recognizing that your value is inherent, not dependent on anyone else's recognition or approval. It's about learning to say no when necessary and realizing that you don't have to give endlessly to earn love or respect from others. When you stop chasing those who don't value you, when you begin to recognize the signs and create the space for them to realize what they've lost, you take back control of your life. No longer are you trapped in the cycle of seeking validation. No longer are you bending over backward for someone who doesn't see you as worthy. You start living for yourself, prioritizing your own happiness, your own self-respect, and your own growth. The beauty of this journey is that it doesn't just transform the way you relate to others, it transforms the way you relate to yourself. The moment you embrace your worth, everything changes. You stop giving your energy to people who drain you, and you start investing that energy into things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and purpose. You begin to recognize your own power, your strength, and your potential. When you stop chasing others for validation, you begin to walk in the knowledge that you are enough as you are. This sense of self-worth is not just an idea. It is a lived experience that radiates through your every action, your every decision, and your every relationship. Throughout this process, you will begin to notice a shift. People who are meant to be in your life will come to you naturally, not because you are seeking them, but because you have stopped desperately searching for their approval. The right people will see your worth, and they will value you for who you truly are, not for what you can do for them. This shift creates the space for deeper, more authentic connections, and it allows you to attract people who are genuinely aligned with your energy and your values. You will also begin to notice that your own personal growth accelerates. When you focus on yourself, when you invest in your own dreams, and when you set boundaries that protect your energy, you will find that your goals become clearer your sense of purpose becomes stronger and your happiness becomes more consistent. You begin to see yourself as the creator of your own life, not someone who is at the mercy of the whims of others. The more you recognize your worth and stop seeking approval from people who don't value you, the more you unlock your true potential. In Stoic philosophy, we are reminded time and time again that our happiness is not dependent on external circumstances. It is not dependent on the validation of others, nor is it determined by what others think of us. True happiness comes from within, from cultivating self-control, wisdom, and inner peace. When you embrace your worth, you begin to align with the Stoic principle that true peace and fulfillment come from within, not from the external validation of others. One of the most profound lessons from Stoicism is that we cannot control other people's actions or their treatment of us. However, we can control how we respond to them. When someone doesn't value us, it is within our power to choose to let them go. We are not obligated to chase after their affection, their attention, or their approval. Instead, we can choose to focus on what truly matters: our own peace, our own happiness, and our own growth. In doing so, we reclaim the power that we have given away for far too long. This journey may not always be easy. There will be moments when you question yourself, when you feel uncertain, or when you doubt whether you made the right decision. But the truth is, every step you take away from people who don't appreciate you is a step closer to reclaiming your own peace. Every moment you choose to invest in yourself, to say no to things that drain you, and to focus on your own growth is a moment that brings you closer to living a life that is truly aligned with your purpose. Let go of the toxic relationships that have held you back for so long. Stop chasing after people who are indifferent to you, and instead focus on the relationships that nurture you, that support you, and that reflect your true value. When you stop seeking validation, you will attract the love and respect you deserve, not because you have chased after it, but because you have become magnetic in your self-respect and self-worth. As you continue to embrace your worth, keep in mind that the greatest act of self-love is not in the grand gestures, but in the small, consistent choices you make every day. It is in the boundaries you set, the energy you reclaim, and the love you give to yourself. The more you make these choices, the more you will realize that you do not need anyone's approval to live a fulfilling, happy life. You are already enough. This is the ultimate freedom. To live life on your own terms, to value yourself deeply, and to be at peace with who you are, no matter how others may choose to treat you. When you stop seeking validation from others, you free yourself from the shackles of dependency, and you begin to create a life that is truly your own. A life where you are in control, where you know your worth, and where you no longer settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. So take this as your invitation to embrace your worth, to set boundaries, and to reclaim your energy. Your journey of self-empowerment starts now, and it begins with the simple yet powerful realization that you are enough. When you fully embrace your worth, you will begin to see the world and your relationships in a completely new light. Your confidence will soar, your sense of self will strengthen, and your life will become a reflection of the value you have always held within you. You have the power to create the life you desire, and it all starts with recognizing the incredible worth you already possess.